NASCAR became embroiled in yet another contentious decision shortly after releasing its penalty report for the races contested at Phoenix Raceway this weekend. People were reminded of a decision made during last Sunday's Cup Series race, when Joey Logano was penalized for something quite contentious. The decision to penalize Logano during the race has generated criticism from experts and former drivers. So the issue arose: had NASCAR lost control? Are the officials competent enough to keep the race interesting and fair? And maybe more importantly, will NASCAR stage a race weekend without controversy this year? So, last weekend Joey Logano was penalized for a restart violation in Phoenix. Joey Logano started from the front row and gained the lead from William Byron early in the opening stage of Sunday's Shriners Children's 300 at Phoenix Raceway. Then, on lap 18, NASCAR punished him for his prior restart. Logano was penalized for a restart infraction after slipping below the yellow line before fully crossing the start-finish line. The reigning Cup Series champion was forced to concede the lead and serve a pass-through penalty. Logano soon said that he thought NASCAR made the incorrect decision. "No way!" Logano shouted into his radio, and he added, "It was freaking nothing. That is ridiculous." The rules include a section governing restarts and the inside line. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports revealed the rule on X. At oval track events, once the green flag has been displayed at the initial start and all restarts, all vehicles must maintain their respective track position lane established by the front row above the apron as determined by the inside painted line until they have crossed the start-finish line, according to the rules. Logano won at Phoenix when it counted the most, last year's Cup Series championship race. He had one of the fastest autos heading into Sunday's race. However, as punishment, he had to navigate the field last Sunday, and, while it may appear insignificant, if NASCAR continues to operate in this manner, things will not go smoothly. That is precisely why previous stars have blasted NASCAR. Kevin Harvick, for example, has blasted NASCAR for punishing Team Penske driver Joey Logano in Phoenix. The defending Cup Series champion was punished for a restart penalty during the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway. NASCAR enforced a pass-through penalty, pushing Logano to the back of the pack. Despite finishing 13th in the race, the Connecticut-born driver was irate over his team radio, saying, "No way, it was literally nothing. That is ridiculous." During the most recent episode of the Harvick Happy Hour podcast, Harvick criticized NASCAR's inconsistent penalties. He fumed, "Well, this is one of those, it's a black and white call with the way that this rule is written. But if we're going to call the black and white call here, there was definitely a couple situations on the restarts that I would consider questionable. The video right here of Logano, I mean, you can see the car is over the yellow line before the start-finish line. That's the rule. I've got no problem with black and white calls, as long as we call the black and white calls all the time. Let's be consistent. Figure out a way out of this one and not that one. Because there's not that iron fist that is just ruling these Cup Series races and calling those calls like they need to be called. But there are a lot of things that are black and white, and rules on the restart, rules on the yellow line. If we're going to call all the black and white calls like that one, then we need to call them all." He continued, "It's super easy. That call is super easy. Did we see anybody else get close to the start-finish line below the line for the rest of the day? No, nobody close. Nobody was even close the rest of the day. It's just like the restarts. There were a couple of those restarts at the end I was like, man, it looked to me like the outside guy jumped the inside guy or entered the zone and took off before the control car did." Those inconsistencies, like when they didn't make that call with Denny, Hamlin at Richmond, that's the kind of crap I'm tired of. I'm tired of the inconsistencies that go with the officiating. It has been absolute C*****P. Harvick went on to cite further examples of NASCAR unreliability. There have been a few. I think when you look at the throwing the caution in the duel, not throwing the caution at the Daytona 500, not throwing the caution at the Atlanta Xfinity race, then we throw the caution for the Cup race, Harvick said. The reason that you're getting trashed is because of the fact that you're not consistent. You're not doing it the same. Don't give me this garbage that every scenario isn't the same and we've got to talk through this. No, that's not right. Atlanta was very simple, the Xfinity race. The Daytona 500 was very simple to throw the caution flag. You look at Joey Logano's, that was a simple call. Just make it. But Harvick wasn't the only one who was dissatisfied with what happened last weekend. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the great driver, participated as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wasn't happy with the call. The NASCAR Hall of Famer did not believe Logano should have had to relinquish the lead and serve a pass-through penalty. During the most recent episode of the Dale Jr. download, Earnhardt Jr. commented on what he perceived to be nitpicking by authorities. This was an interesting one for me. Sometimes NASCAR doesn't call it, sometimes they do call it. I do not remember the last time that they've called it on the front, you know, the leader, particularly at Phoenix. So that was pretty interesting, Earnhardt Jr. proclaimed. I thought it was pretty nitpicky. Did Joey break that rule? Yeah. I didn't think that Joey was trying to gain an advantage there. I don't think he was doing anything to block the car behind him. I just think that he misjudged it. I felt like, considering the circumstances, that it was a bit nitpicky based off of how hit and miss it's been on calling those infractions at that particular racetrack and those moments throughout the field over the last, probably, let's just go back, 5 or 6 trips to this racetrack. It's been, you know, they can't get them all. I understand that. I'm not complaining. I don't expect them to call all of them because they're going to miss a few. It's just human nature to error a little bit. So you give them a little bit of grace there, but I felt like that they pounced on Joey. I mean, literally just half a tire or maybe a 3/4 of the left front tire down on the apron when he crossed to start-finish line. I didn't think it was that aggressive. It was definitely startling to watch the call made, and the NASCAR on Fox booth was equally stunned in real time. Earnhardt Jr. went on to suggest that a warning would have been ideal for the number 22 crew, whose day was thrown off track for no obvious reason. I feel like that would have been a time to maybe give a warning to everyone, Earnhardt Jr. said. That would have been a moment to say, look man, we're not going to torpedo Joey's day over about 12 inches of asphalt. He didn't gain anything from it. He wasn't blocking the car behind him. Listen, forget about who's in the car. Just, you know, Joey Logano fan or not. This is a guy just trying to run his race. He got a little aggressive. It would have been a good time to say, all right, everybody, we're going to, you know, we're sending out a warning. The number 22 car was aggressive there. Next time, the next car that does it, I don't care if it's a couple of inches, stop. You know, stop doing it. I think that would have been the play, but that's just me. You don't have to love it. I just feel like it was a little bit nitpicky. Overall, the penalty pushed Joey Logano out of contention for the win, although he finished 13th when the checkered flag waved. At least it wasn't a total disaster. However, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick would prefer that it be handled differently in the future, regardless of whose driver commits the penalty. What are your thoughts on the penalty? Has NASCAR made the incorrect decision here? Let me know what you think in the comments below.